Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I want to discuss a very important topic, which is how to achieve regular and efficient piano practice to get the best results in the shortest amount of time. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Also, I offer online piano lessons. If you're looking for one, there's going to be information below. And I'd like to say a big thank you to my patrons who've been supporting this channel. You can see their names on the screen now. So this topic is really important because it's the basics and supporting pillar of your piano journey. Usually when students struggle to get the results they want, or when progress is very slow, or when they lose motivation, it's usually two things. One is irregular practice or not practicing enough, and the second one is inefficient practice or not practicing properly. And I want to address both of these because once you get these into place, you'll see a huge improvement in the quality of your practice and also in the result of your work. So let's talk about number one, the most important one, which is regular practice. I can't stress this enough to my own students as well, that playing regularly is far more efficient than playing a few times for longer periods. Now, many people really struggle to find the time to sit down, or you plan to sit down but something happens, or you can't remember how many times you practiced this week. Many times I go to my students and I ask them how many times you practiced this week, and they say I can't remember. So there are many ways to get around this. The first one is you can have a piano practice journal, which is going to be very efficient in your practice, and keep it at the piano. And every time you practice, write down exactly how long you practiced and what you practiced. And this way you can keep track of your practice, and you can easily see if there's one day missed, or if this specific week you only practiced 3 times but your aim was 5. So you have to push yourself to make up to the 5. It's very difficult to remember how long you practiced for and what. But then if you started a piece on the 1st of January and on the 30th of January you can still barely play it, but you look back at your journal and you see that you missed 60% of your practice sessions, then you shouldn't really beat yourself up about it. But if you look back and you see that you did practice 5 times every single week, then you have to look for the cause of why is there an issue with that specific piece? Why is it not going the way it should be going? So the practice journal is really important, and writing down, itemize what you've been practicing and how long. I've done today 10 minutes of scales, I've done today 20 minutes of Chopin's Nocturne in C minor, I've done 15 minutes of Burgmüller's Opus 109, whatever. So write down exactly what you did, and you can also at the beginning of the journal or at the beginning of each section write down some goals, what you want to achieve in this specific period, whether it's a month, whether it's a term, and so on. If you're interested in getting a very nice journal, I can make one available that I use with my students, and I can make it available on my website, or maybe possibly on Amazon as well. I will have to look into that. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see one of these practice journals made available. So that's number one. The second one, if you don't like paper and you don't like writing and you lose notebooks and stuff, but you're very good with technology and you love apps, then there are many apps that you can use to track your own practice. I've been using one which has been developed by Nicola Canton at Colorful Keys, which is basically for music studios, but you can also use it alone if you don't have a teacher and just learn by yourself. And it's really good because it tracks the time you spend on practicing, and you can see on a chart how much you practice the entire month. And you can also set different kind of practice strategies like blocked practice, intervallic practice, and scrambled practice, and all kinds of other things. So lots of different apps available on the market which help you to get more regular at practicing. So that's about remembering to practice. The second thing is, as I mentioned at the start of the video, practicing more frequently is always going to be more efficient than practicing fewer times but for longer. Sometimes when I ask my students to practice every day an hour, they say, oh, I missed yesterday, but I'm going to practice 2 hours today. Practicing 2 hours today is not going to be as efficient as practicing 1 hour today and 1 hour yesterday. And that's, psychology and how the brain works, that when we go to sleep, we kind of process everything we learned that day. And pieces, especially motoric skills like piano, they need time to kind of embed into our nervous system, to be able to develop muscle memory for certain pieces. So frequency is always going to be much, much better than sitting down and trying to do your entire week's practice in one day. That's never going to be a good idea. And also you have to remember that concentration has a limit, and it's not a linear line. It is going to be a falling curve. So you start playing, and depending on, your personality, some people can do 50 minutes, some people can do 2 hours, some people can only do 10 minutes before their concentration starts to kind of go downhill. And then whatever you do, you're sitting at the piano, but you're not making progress because your mind is not there, your concentration and your focus is not on what you do. In that case, if your concentration span is very short, it's best to walk away from the piano, do something else for 20 minutes and come back and do another 15-minute session, go away, come back and do another 15 minutes. Because that way you can actually keep the best part of your concentration when you're most focused on what you do, and leave that time, which is kind of a waste of time, to do something else. So that was number one. The second thing I want to talk about is what to practice and what not to practice. Now, everybody's journey, piano journey, is very different. Some of you are going to work towards exams, some of you are doing things just for fun, some of you play in bands, and some of you have no idea what you're doing right now, just starting out your journey and trying to figure out what to do. So everybody is doing piano for a different reason, and the things you practice and your structure is going to kind of reflect what you are trying to do. So if you are, doing some structured learning with a teacher, aiming for exams, aiming to finish one method book every half a year and then go to the next one, you really have to split your time wisely. Think of piano scales and finger exercises as kind of, in the morning getting ready. So you need to do that in order to be able to do the rest of your day. You're not going to go into the office if you didn't have your breakfast, didn't dress up, didn't brush your teeth. Scales and finger exercises are there to get you started for your bigger things. Obviously, they are not just a warm-up, they also work on many, many different skills. You learn certain patterns that come up in pieces. You are, getting already into the posture, you're getting your fingers to move. You don't need to read music, so it allows you to play faster than you would be normally doing when you read new music. So doing the scales and finger exercises is really important, and depending on your level, you want to spend an appropriate amount of time on it. I would say spending more than 25% of your practice time on scales and finger exercises is never a good idea, because essentially we are pianists and want to learn piano music, but obviously we need those important skills to get us into it. Now, obviously, if you have an exam coming up and your scales are rubbish, but your pieces go really well and you need to get those scales perfect, then obviously you're going to sit down and spend an hour on those scales until you get them right. But I'm just talking in general. When you practice for an hour, you would spend 15 minutes on scales and finger exercises, and then perhaps another 15 minutes on some technical shorter exercises that focus on specific little things. And then in the final biggest chunk of your lesson, you're going to focus on repertoire, where you are basically dealing with technique, musicality, expression, reading music. And in the end of your session, if you still have energy, you can do maybe 5 or 10 minutes of sight reading. It's really important to incorporate that sight reading into your practice, because the more you do it, the more frequently you do it, the better the results are going to be. You can't just do sight reading 2 weeks before an exam and expect it to improve. It's not how it works. Also, if you want, you can swap sight reading and scales. So one day, if you practice 7 days a week, one day you can do scales, the next day you can do sight reading, the next day you can do scales, the next day you can do sight reading. And this way you get to spend a longer amount of time on both of these essential skills, but you still get to do both at least 3-4 times every week. When you do your repertoire, depending on how many pieces you're practicing at any given time, you want to divide your time efficiently, meaning that if you have longer pieces, longer than one page, don't try to do 5 of those in half an hour. Try to practice at least 15-20 minutes, one piece, which is intermediate. And of course, the higher the level, late intermediate, advanced, it's going to be even longer. Very important, if you want to get good results from your piano practice, don't play pieces that are much harder than your current level. It's going to lead to frustration. It's going to lead to delayed results and achievements, if you even get those achievements that you want. And it's just not efficient because you're going to spend far more time on something that is not giving you a lot more benefits than doing a lot more shorter or easier pieces that are more appropriate to your own level. And you're going to improve much more from those, and you're going to be able to achieve that initial level of difficulty much quicker if you play more appropriate pieces than playing very difficult pieces right from the start and wasting your time months and years until you get really bored of that piece and you still can't play it properly, and basically your excitement is going to kind of fade away and you lose motivation because you don't get the same kind of feeling of achievement, success at the end of your practice period when you feel like, okay, now I finished this piece and I can move on to the next one. So I would say these are the two most important things when it comes to efficient practice and preparing for a piano journey that's going to work for you. Practicing regularly, practicing with a journal or some kind of structure so you know what you're doing every day and you can look back and check whether what you did is in harmony with the results that you're expecting, practicing pieces that are around your level, and also dividing your practice time between all the skills that you need to develop as a beginner or intermediate pianist. I hope this video was helpful to you, and if you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.